think when you started your show here in the States, you had success on Broadway, but your big breakout moment was unknown to a lot of us. Like, I didn't know really about Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
And this is a show that you created with a friend of yours.
Me and my friend Ruth wrote it, yeah.
And you write this, and it's 2007, I think it's 2010. It's the sitcom that really launched your career. And what always interests me is the impetus, the old term for it is moxie, like they would say in the 1930s. That kid's got moxie. But to create your own show, get together with a friend and create something out of nothing and sort of launch your own career that way is pretty amazing. You made that happen.
Well, it really came out of a kind of moment of frustration in a way, because I was in a play called The History Boys, which really, when it opened, became the play to see. It was the play in London, then we did a world tour. We shot a movie of it, and then we went to Broadway, and it kind of swept the board at the Tonys and all these things. And in this play were 8 boys, all of a similar age, all in a pretty similar stage in our careers. And I'd been lucky that I'd done a couple of like films, and I'd done a TV series that my friend Ruth was in, Ruth Jones, who is just a magnificent actress and writer. And we were doing the play, and then when we got to New York, the play was such a smash that all these boys were like, just like my buddy Dominic, who's like, I used to live with, introduced me to my wife, was just coming in every day with like 5 movie scripts. And he was like, God, I'm going to read all these before I meet Martin Scorsese at 6 p.m. over the road. It was all this, like, Sam Barnett was like, I've just been to a restaurant with Steven Spielberg.
Right.
It was all like this. And I remember one day there was a script, and it was a hot script. And it was so amazing about these two young British guys aged sort of late teens, early 20s, who were traveling around the world, and then they got accused of a murder. And this was this was the thing. It was going to be huge. And me and my friend Andy and Russell were all being sent the script. This was actually when we were at the National Theatre before we got to New York. And we go down to pick up these scripts, and I'll never forget it, that they both had the entire script. And I just had 2 pages, which was the guy who worked on a newsstand who sold them something on their way to the airport. And I was like, fuck. And it was like, really, because I'm fat, right? And you're like, oh man, I never thought about that. I was genuinely like, I hadn't even considered that, like,
right.
The way I looked was it really felt like
you didn't fit into a certain mold.
That people were going, well, we think you're good, but you'll drop off a TV to Hugh Grant in a rom-com.
Hey, many of us got our start that way.
And you'll work your way up, and then maybe when you're in your early 50s, you'll play like a sort of bubbly judge in something, And I remember being like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. I was like, oh, I just figured this was gonna be what I do. So then it was like, oh, okay. And I was discussing this with my friend Ruth, and I'd been to a wedding in a place in Wales called Barry Island, which Ruth knew very well. She's from Wales. And I just told her I'd been at this wedding, and I was like, I had this idea for a story. And she said, I think we should try and write that. And it was really her perseverance of going, oh, James, I really think we should write this. So it was like, oh, great. Okay, excellent. So then we wrote it, and Ruth had written a couple of things before, and I'd never written anything. So we wrote a script, and we submitted it to the BBC. And then to nobody is more surprised than Ruth and I that the show launched on a small digital channel called BBC Three, and it had, I think, like 420,000 viewers, which was a respectable number for that channel. And then by the time the last episode that we put out is the most watched, or was at the time the most watched scripted show of the decade in Britain. I think it had like 18 million viewers, I think.
God,
and then
wow.
And it was just kind of a crazy time of where it just was amazing.
It's incredible to me that you found yourself in this situation, and I can very much relate. I was not an actor, but I was asked to audition for something once. Someone had seen me doing improv at the Groundlings,
right.
And And it was for a Jim Henson project. This is back when Jim Henson was alive, and it was for a sitcom. And they said, someone saw Conan, and they said, he's perfect. And they sent me the sides, and there were 2 characters in it, and I didn't know which one they wanted me to audition for. So I just saw this dialogue, and I said, I don't really know who I'm auditioning for. And so they said, we didn't send you the first page. And they sent you the first page, which is the character descriptions.
Oh, no.
And it's like Steve and Jack. And it was like, Steve, when he walks into a room, every woman needs to be with him and every man wants to be him. Sensuality smolders off his thick, sensuous lips. He's, got big dick energy, and he knows what he wants, and he takes it.
Yeah.
And then it said the other guy, and it went, as tall and gangly as he is awkward, this mop-headed goofball with beady eyes, Oh, no. And so, like, I went in and I went, so this is for Jack. And then there's another one. And they went, no, Steve. Yeah. You're Steve. And I went, yeah. I know.
Okay, I know.
Okay. But
I can beat that in terms of it being utterly demoralizing, where I went to audition for a film and I knew must be 20 years ago now, if not more. And it definitely more, actually, because I remember I was about to turn 21 and they'd sent these sides of the character, and I forget who the character was. And I went in and I read the scene, and the director goes, that was great, James. That was really good. I promise you, these were his actual words. He went, seeing you now and meeting you in person, we think there's another part that you're perfect for. Can we give you the script and you go outside, take as long as you need and look at these scenes and come back in and read if you want to come back later in the day, or to take half an hour, whatever you need. But seeing you now in person, we really feel that this is great. I was like, okay, no, we just can't find this guy. And just so you know, we really think he could be it. And I'm like, this is how Hollywood. This is how Hollywood.
This is like a train that's coming to kill us. I know it's coming, and there's nothing we can do.
I open the thing and I forget the character's name, but I remember it said mid-20s, repulsive. And it said he has acne on his face, hair's growing, like his scalp has flaky skin, all this stuff. And I remember reading it going, okay. And now I think, well, why wouldn't you just go, hey guys, I'm good. But at the time you're just like, I just need a job, I want to work.
Sure,
so you're
of
like,
course, yeah.
So go back in and they're like, what do you think? I was like, I love it. But the idea that someone would say, now seeing you in the flesh, other than this black and white headshot photo, now that I see you, repulsive.
You look at the script, enter shithead.
Yeah, exactly right.